Good morning, grade 8. How are you all today? Let us start with fundamental duties. And what are fundamental duties? We will be doing from your content sheet, page number 33. Okay, unit 2, week 4. Okay, so what are fundamental duties? Can we guess about it? Do we have any idea? Okay, so the society expects its citizens to perform some duties in return to the fundamental rights. So there are certain fundamental rights that we have been provided, right? That have been provided to us, okay, by our government, by our country. So when our country provides us with some fundamental rights, so the country expects something in return also. Okay, so what is that something that the country expects in return? When the country provides it with certain fundamental rights, we also are liable to certain duties. And what are the duties? Okay, we are liable for certain fundamental duties. What sort of duties? Fundamental duties. Now let's talk about the fundamental duties. The society expects its citizens to perform some duties in return to the fundamental rights. These duties are collectively known as the fundamental rights. What are they known as? The fundamental rights. These duties have been incorporated in the Indian Constitution. The original Constitution, which was enforced on when was the original Constitution enforced? When was it enforced? It was enforced on 26th of January 1950. The original Constitution that was enforced on 26th of January 1950, it did not have the Constitution, the fundamental duties. However, mention anything about these duties of the citizen. So the original Constitution, which was enforced on the 26th January 1950, it did not have any fundamental duties. But it was expected that the citizens of a free India would perform these duties willingly. They would do it willingly out of their own will. But things did not go as expected. Obviously, if somebody is not there on your head, you do not perform the duty. So, what happened is that therefore 10 fundamental duties. How many fundamental duties? 10 fundamental duties. 10 fundamental duties were added in part 4 of the Constitution under Article 51A in the year 1976 through the 42nd Constitutional Amendment. Now, let's talk about these fundamental duties. The following 10 fundamental duties have been listed in the Indian Constitution, that is the Constitution of India, to abide by the Constitution and respect its ideal and institution. So what will you do? You will abide by the Constitution, you will go by the Constitution, and you will respect its ideals and institutions. The national flag and the national anthem. You will always respect the national flag and you will always respect the national anthem. It should not be that you are just throwing it in the ground or putting it in the dustbin. The national flag is of utmost importance for any Indian. To cherish and follow the noble ideals which inspired our national struggle. Okay. So now we need to, it took a lot of time for us to get independence, right? It was not an easy task. So we need to, what do we need to do? We need to cherish that independence. We need to respect that independence. To uphold and protect the sovereignty, unity and integrity of India. We need to uphold, we need to protect the sovereignty, unity and integrity of India. To defend the country and render national services when called upon. Whenever we are called or whenever we are asked to provide our country with national services, we must always be there. We must always be there to protect our country. We must always be there to defend our country. To promote harmony and the spirit of common brotherhood amongst all the people of India. So we must promote harmony. We must promote brotherhood amongst all the people of India. Despite whatever religion we belong to, despite whatever caste we belong to, despite whatever sex we belong to value and preserve the rich heritage of our composite culture. India has a composite culture we must value that composite culture. We must respect that composite culture to protect and improve the natural environment, including forests, lakes, rivers, wildlife. So we must protect our natural environment. We must value it to develop scientific temper, humanism, and spirit of inquiry and reform. Now we must always develop the inquisitiveness, the scientific inquiry, the humanism sort of a thing. To safeguard public property, we must take care of all the public property that has been provided to us, and we must not use any violence in public. To strive towards excellence in all sphere of Indian individual and collective activity. So we must strive towards achieving excellence, whether it is individual activity or collective activity. Now, nature of fundamental duties. These duties are in nature of code of conduct. Since they are unjustifiable, there is no legal sanction behind this. A few of these duties are very vague. For example, a common citizen may not understand what does composite culture mean. You and I are educated people. We can understand what composite culture means. But a normal person on the road will never understand what composite culture means. So it is ambiguity is there. What rich heritage means, what humanism means. They will realize the importance of these duties only when these terms are simplified. Only when you simplify these terms will a normal person understand what these terms mean. A demand has been made from time to time to revise the present list, to simplify the language and make the duties more realistic and meaningful. Besides adding some urgently required realistic duties, now that society is changing, everything is changing, we need more duties, right? So people are demanding that please come up with new duties. Please start off with new duties. Now, what is DPSP? Okay. Now, DPSP, that is Directive Principles of State Policy. These are guidelines or principles given to the central and state government of India to be kept in mind while framing laws and policies. These provisions contained in Part 4 of the Constitution of India are not enforceable in any court. But the principles laid down therein are considered fundamental in the governance of the country, making it the duty of the state to apply these principles in making laws to establish a just society. The principles have been inspired by directive principles given in the Constitution of Ireland that relate to social, justice, economic welfare, foreign policy, and legal and administrative matters. Directive principles are classified under following categories: economic and socialistic, political and administrative, justice and legal, environmental protection of monuments, and peace and security. So with this we've talked about what? We've talked about fundamental duties. We've talked about fundamental duties. How many are there? 10 are there. What are the fundamental duties? We've talked about DPSP. That is the directive principles of state policy. Take care, children. Please do a little research about this. Please understand these topics in a little detail. And please come up to me if you have any doubts. Thank you. Take care.